Listening to the Sound of Niagara podcast, we're going to talk more about the markets today and the confused messaging of Trump and his gang. I don't know what they're doing. And I have Tony back, the market expert, friend of mine. Here we go. Tony, you there?
Yo, I am still here.
Okay.
We got used to have the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Uh-huh.
Now we got the Donnie Horror Economic Show. It's really...
Do you go there and like chant the lines?
It's just...
You were a big Rocky Horror Picture Show guy, right? Like you used to go in the gear and everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I would stay there all day. It was just something fantastic. But now I don't have to because I can see this in 3D right in front of us, and it's really crazy town. And
do you still have the gear, the clothes from the Rocky Horror days in the closet somewhere or somewhere in the house?
Actually, they've been donated.
By the way, folks, I'm kidding. I don't think he's a fan. Maybe he is. I don't know. Who knows?
But they were donated. If I had them, they would have been donated. I can tell you.
All right,
that.
Listen. They don't let you wear that stuff to the country club. I'm guessing you're like tuck in your shirt and take off those high heels. Or correct?
Yeah, get the brim of the hat forward, not back. No cargo pants. Denim could be the devil's clothing. It just depends.
I know. Listen, I know you're a golfer. Before we get into the heavy duty part of this, I just want to keep something a little bit lighter because the world's so sad. You're a golfer.
I am.
What do you get out of it? Are you looking forward to Augusta?
Well, I mean, I'm watching it. I mean, not right now because I'm here with you, but you know, I have it on in the background all day long, you know, with the sound off. And you know, it's a beautiful place. The weather is a heck of a lot better than it is over here. What do you like about it? Well, first of all,
yeah, go ahead.
You're out in nature, right? So it's beautiful. You got a lot of beautiful settings all over the world. Second, there's a social aspect to it where there's camaraderie, right? A little competition. You know, you have that too. A lot of laughs. And if you're a thinking guy, it's a different kind of thinking because, you know, you're hitting the books, you're hitting the screen, but now you're outside, you got to deal with different weather elements, different lies, you know, whatever the course conditions are like, however they set up.
I mean, I've been golfing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not saying this to be the populist of the moment. This is just who I am. I just don't feel comfortable in the gear. I go with my friends and we'll go shoot jump shots. We won't really play. We'll just shoot jump shots and we'll talk. And I really find being with them on the outdoors, talking and shooting jump shots is really fun. And as I get older, less and less of them want to do it. Is that what you're getting out of golf? That kind of camaraderie?
Oh, well, listen, your friends would probably love this because they could drive around on a golf cart, right? When they're done with shooting shots, actually, they could be having shots on the course.
Deerwood in North Tonawanda. It was like a prestigious thing for like working class guys to do back then.
Yeah.
And he took me out once, and my brother crashed the golf cart into the pond. And
my God.
He never yelled at us, but he was not happy.
Who paid for it? Oh, we did. That would have been it. Listen, have you ever had any golf lessons?
No, but I like to just yell "for" all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's no wonder you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? You know, trying to play golf without any lessons is sort of like being in a wheelchair with the brake on all the time. Well, he's got a lot to get around.
Oh gosh, if
you get my drift. So the swing somehow compensates for the girth of the man, who, by the way, is at Walter Reed experiencing a battery of cognitive and physical tests. And I can tell you, you know, not that I'm a fortune teller or anything, but I'm sure that when all the testing is done, they're going to come out and say, like his old doctor, Ronnie Johnson, who's now a congressman from Texas, he's going to say, you know, president's in a fabulous shape, can't you see? And you know, he is going to live to 200, and he certainly can execute all the duties of his job. I mean, it would really be interesting if you're going to do a cognitive test for him to explain specifically how in 80 days he was able to destroy 80 years worth of economic trade, relationships, and create upheaval for the global trading system and really for global economies.
I don't think regular people or just people, the Trumps. I was just at the mechanic and I heard people talking, and the Fox News is on. And you would have thought that this is the greatest, what's happening in America is wonderful. And they were all excited. And I'm like, these people are going to feel it. And I'm not hoping they do. They're going to feel it. You can't have 100 and something percent tariff on Chinese goods and think your life's not going to change. It's going to change, guys. You're going to have severe costs. And what they were saying in the mechanic shop today, they were like, well, it's in the long run, it's better. Is it?
How is it better? Did you ask? I would just ask. So tell me more. How's it going to be better?
Seemed missed. I mean, usually I do. If I see somebody saying something like racist or hurtful or hateful, I'll say something. Mm-hmm. But I noticed like it doesn't really help for me to confront people that are that confused usually. So unless there's not an urgent need to speak, I'll just listen. And I was sitting there in this mechanic shop looking at the news because I've confronted people many times. If there's an opportunity to speak about it reasonably, I will do so, but I'm not going to just be, an irritant for someone who doesn't know what's going on. So I'm sitting there, I'm listening to them, and I don't know. I just think I don't want to use this term because I think it's a little offensive, but they've drank the Kool-Aid.
Well, I think that's the case. I'll tell you what, people have been sold a bill of goods by this guy because a lot of the people that I've heard, interviewed when they do these things, jaywalking the guy in the street, they say, well, what the government needs is a businessman, a business person who can come in. And, I'll say, well, I think there's something to that, except you don't want a businessman who has consistently gone out of business, is being bankrupted, right? And was a reality TV star who was made into an image of success, but in fact, he really wasn't successful. The reason he didn't pay income taxes for years and years and years is because, he generated billions of dollars of losses. And there was some shady business going on in terms of him being able to take losses. And I don't know why the IRS really didn't audit him. Or if they did, why it took as long as it did. But the bottom line is he is not the paragon of business success.
So when I'm talking to some guys from that are overseas, I'm in my business dealings right now, and it seems like a lot of these guys from other countries also, they really think that Trump is great. I'm not talking about from like Europe. Usually the people I'm talking to are from developing nations, and they're like, he's the best. He's the best. And I think it's because there's some truth to what he's saying. The truth is, it doesn't make sense that there's all these non-tariff barriers. And I'll explain what non-tariff barriers are really quick. For example, if you're a tire company and you want to sell tires to Japan, they may have different tire specifications than you make in America that make it unreasonable for you to design tires specifically for Japan or make it cost prohibitive to do so. Little changes, little extra requirements that make it difficult to do trade even if there is no tariff. I think a lot of our partners did rip us off. I do. I know that we can go through and say it's exaggerated, obviously. The reason why people in Japan don't buy our cars is not because of tariffs. They don't buy our cars because we've said before, where are you going to drive a Dodge Ram truck in Japan? But I do think there's some truth to people ripping us off. Go ahead.
Okay, but let me use an example from nature, if I may. Okay, I go out and I play golf. Now, the course that we're at, they have two red-tailed hawks. Okay, big birds, big wingspan, and anytime we see the red-tailed hawks out there flying around, they usually have three other birds, little birds, on their back pecking away at them, just to get them the H out of the area. Okay, they're annoying them. But the king of the course really is the red-tailed hawk, which is it's a huge bird. So I think it's the same kind of thing. when you have, the largest military in the world and you're spending multiple times what the next closest is, when you've got the greatest economy in the world, you've got some of the greatest universities in the world, healthcare system, you name it. I mean, the United States is a real, or has been up to this point anyway, a real hegemon. What are you going to do if you're in an inferior position? So maybe you do a few of those things. But the bottom line is, our economy has grown faster and has gotten larger than any other economy over the past 80 years, post World War II. So what I'm saying to you is the structure that we put in place, after World War II with the Marshall Plan, et cetera, has benefited other countries, true, but it's really benefited the United States.
Well, that's the point. I mean, like, if there's problems with the global system, the answer isn't just if you have a leaky faucet, the answer isn't blow up your house. Your answer is like we some trade issues here or there. Let's fix them. And then with China, I don't think people realize. China is going to have a huge impact on our economy. If these tariffs stay the way they are, everyone listening to this, everyone in my community, everyone in America, you will feel your lifestyle change. You're not going to be able to get that new iPhone. If you think they're going to suddenly build iPhones in America and you're not going to see a price change, first of all, it's not going to happen for at least a decade. It's very okay, I got to go step back. Do you know how big these semiconductor plants are? Or
how big are they?
First, they cost about $1 billion at least each for one assembly line. They are guarded by military in Taiwan and South Korea, and the facilities in China are also protected. They're
now, Nathan, you know what they call them?
What?
In the vernacular, they're called fab plants. And people think, it's because it's a fabrication plant, but it's really because they're fabulously expensive.
Well, you can't. I don't think your average person can understand the type of security, the type of discipline in maintaining these facilities, and the size of these facilities. You can't just suddenly say, "Hey, we're going to put 5 of these in Grand Island." I mean, they plan these things out 20 years in advance, and he's an imbecile. If I could get a hold of Trump, I'd say, "Let's go see a fab plant. Let's go to South Korea and take a look. Let's go to China. Let's go to Foxconn and see what it actually looks like." And I know, just so you know, there are companies right now. Foxconn is desperately trying to find a facility to start building things in America. They are.
Didn't they do something? Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't they putting a plant? They were supposed to be putting a plant, I thought, in Wisconsin, somewhere like that. And then, he mentioned in the first term that they're going to be doing this. And then nothing came of it. I mean, we can hit our crack research department, which I'm sure.
I think they're looking at Texas now. I don't have any secret sources. This is all public information, but they're looking at Texas. A lot of companies are looking at Texas. Like Korean car companies are. So yeah, he's right. Car companies and other companies are starting to re-strategize because America, at least for the time being, is indispensable. But
for cars. Nobody makes a car domestically. Every car company on earth sources parts from every other part of the world, period. So, you can talk about a car manufacturer. There are none, in terms of what Peter Navarro says, they're car assemblers. But the ridiculous idea that you're going to be making nuts and screws and wire harnesses and clips and hoses and whatever. It's just crazy because
so even if these factories come back, Tony, it's going to cause prices to skyrocket. And here's the thing no one else is talking about. We talked about it a little bit when I said about the problems with U.S. cars. Tariffs they also have a very strange, unexpected consequence. And that is, if you put tariffs in, what you end up doing is actually encouraging domestic manufacturers to do things worse. Like the steel companies in America. A lot of what they were doing was just simply outdated and it wasn't competitive with the rest of the world because they are protected by tariffs.
So Nate, I think what you're saying is what has given us the quality of life that we've got, in a word, is competition. Competition forces all of us to do well, and when you protect any specific industry, they have the ability to, lay down a little bit, not be as driven by the competition, and none of us are served that well because of it.
And this is what I say about the Democratic Party. They should be the party encouraging competition, which means breaking up giant monopolies and making it less easy for people to have this dynastic wealth and control of the political and economic system. We should have more meritocracy, more competition. Right now, we have less upward mobility than any of our peer nations. Like, basically, if you're born poor in America, you are more likely to stay poor than just about anywhere else. If you are born rich, no matter what a fool you are more likely to stay rich.
And by the way,
those are facts.
I was looking at some educational statistics for kids, that are, testing in the third grade, fourth grade, eighth grade. And we have these national stats. And by the way, that's the only way we can compare on a statewide basis how kids are doing. But again, we're disassembling the Department of Education, even though the Trump administration can't do it. Congress set it up. Only Congress can do it. But they thought, well, what we'll do is straddle it. Excuse me. They're going to throttle it, strangle it, and not allow us to get these comparative looks at things. But what it tells us the most recently is, even despite COVID and some of the other developments that we've had, perhaps since 2010 or so, is that the kids in the middle to upper strata of education, of income, are doing fine, and the kids that are doing the absolute worst are the ones at the lower end of the.
It is the number one determination or determining factor for success in life is the wealth of your parents. It's not even close, especially in the United States. Not even close. So that doesn't sound like a meritocracy to me. That doesn't sound like a place where there's fair competition. It sounds like some sort of oligarchy, or whatever term you want to use. It sounds like a stratified caste system, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, sure. And, people who, who believe that they've done it themselves rather than have been blessed with, any number of natural gifts, whether it's good parents and stable neighborhood, whatever the good schools, whatever the case may be. You'll look at them, and oftentimes, Nate, they'll get on their high horse and say, well, it's because so-and-so is lazy. They just want to collect, public assistance. And it's generation to generation, very difficult to break the cycle. But the bottom line is, poverty really ends up, in a sense, enslaving people, to a life of misery, because from an educational standpoint, they're just not able to, to
can't compete. You
from a lot of what society has.
There's also the trauma of constantly being worried about what's coming next, what you're going to lose, what you don't have. And I'm not talking about just jealousy about like material goods. Look at the penalties for people for things like parking tickets in America. It's worse than what people get for white collar crime. So we could talk about the inequality all day long. I wish the Democrats focused on this issue like a laser and said, the real issue in America is we're not developing our best and brightest. We're developing our richest. And we need to have a society where we find talent wherever it may be, whether it's in the trailer park or in the penthouse. We need to find our best talent. And I think if we looked at this from a perspective of if we really are a nation competing with the rest of the world, that's the way we would look at it. But that's not the way our government looks at it. That's the way our leaders look at it. They look at it preserving their own interests and the interests of their families. Or in the case of Trump, I think he wants to create some sort of dynasty. In any world, in any view of any person, is Trump's kids exceptional? I mean, if Donnie,
they're exceptionally rich, I can say that.
If Donnie Jr. was born in the circumstances I was born in, I'm thinking Donnie Jr. wouldn't be doing so well.
You're right, and furthermore, I just want to talk about education for just a second. The head of education. Yes, sir. The head of education and skills at the OECD told the Financial Times, here's the quote, 30% of Americans read at a level that you would expect from a 10-year-old child. He continued, it is actually hard to imagine that every third person you meet on the street has difficulties reading even simple things. So, when you look at that and, people don't read, they look at a lot of stuff on glass. I mean, one of the shocking things I think why a lot of our kids are not hitting the levels of educational achievement that they have historically is they don't read. I think today in America, the big deal is being entertained. It's going on Instagram, it's going on TikTok, it's going on any number of things, and you're there to be entertained. Hours and hours and hours go by. What book have you read? I haven't read any books. Why? Well, because I'm spending 3 hours scrolling, doom scrolling.
That might be part of the problem. I'm not even sure if it is, and I know this is not a conventional opinion. I think
that is true.
I really, because I just know kids all over the world are in front of their screens. Kids in China are in front of their screens as much as our kids are. If not, I mean, go to South Korea. They have these things called PC rooms, PC bangs. The kids go in there. There's kids who have died in there playing video games. But if you look at their test scores, they're off the charts. And
people of substance, I will just say, people of substance are big readers. Period.
Listen, I'm a big reader. I love reading. I tell my
there
kids.
There you go. That's the proof.
No, I think that reading is it. I'm not saying this to be like, oh, I also love TV. I also love TikTok. I love all of it. But I read every morning because it is fun, and I wish more people understood that. But if I look at our governor's budget, for example, there's tons of money for education in there. I can't. If you look at the numbers, it's shocking how much we actually do spend on education in this state. So the question is, because we're spending, and I'm not against that, but somebody has to say eventually, well, where are the results? There's a lot of money in there for affordable housing. And I know this is a big talking point nowadays among like Democratic thinkers, but where are the results? If people can't read and we're spending this much, I think it goes to the deeper problem about societal differences, about class differences, and we don't talk about class in America enough, but we should. And I think we have a social problem that you can't throw money at to fix. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this, Nate. In finance, and just in science in general, we have correlation analyses, right? Do two inputs correlate with each other, negative, positive? Be interesting, and I'm sure these studies have been done. Is there a positive correlation between the achievement of kids and the amount of money that teachers earn?
But there is a positive correlation between the amount of money their parents have, which tells me if we had more of a social foundation where people felt safe at home and the parents felt safer and we had more social equality, that we'd have better students.
So let me talk about teachers for a minute. What grade level? This is like a quiz bowl. All right. This is McMurray College. What grade level should we have the very best teachers at? And we're going, I don't know, K to 12, let's say. Bingo. There you go. Don't say but. You should just say, yes, that is my answer.
Smarty. I'm a smarty.
And it is critical, because you would think, well, we need smarties to do physics and, geometry and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, if the kids don't get a good start, they're going to be handicapped, because if they cannot read well, and they cannot do some basic math concepts, everything else we move them up to with each grade level, they're going to continue to struggle with that.
I believe that. But if you look at kids, listen to this. If you look at kids, right? When do kids, like especially boys, start having problems? It's when their dad leaves, right? It's statistically.
I thought when they discovered girls.
Well, no, it's usually when there's problems at home. And you see the grades will fall. That tells me we need to figure out ways to make better homes. And the Democrat or the Republican answer to that is to like lock women in pregnancy and force us all to go to church. I don't think that's the answer. I think
really, I have not seen that on a poster, Nate.
Yeah, well, it's basically what they're advertising. Have you seen the numbers of young men that are going to church now? It's the first time in like generations that it's skyrocketing. And the number
I don't know which denominations they're going to.
I don't know either, but like I saw the number, mostly like evangelical churches.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, you know what it is. I think with evangelical churches, I think that they address the specific needs that people have. You know, where they're feeling lost, they may be depressed. They may feel they're in a dead end situation, and I think they may offer some comfort and community to people like that, rather than whatever's being done with mainline religions over the over the centuries. But there's a general disbelief in religions. There's a disbelief in science. I think we're getting a disbelief in government, because apparently we can dismantle everything and life's going to go on just great, right? We don't need to be vaccinated, because why do we need that stuff anyway? Uh, yeah.
listen to this. Listen, this is I heard this today. Speaking of what you're getting at, this is a congresswoman speaking. Ready?
Mhm.
Oh wait, come on, lady.
Climate, because he controls the
Here we go.
sun. Climate change is a sham. First of all, God controls the climate because he controls the sun, and the sun controls the weather primarily.
These Green New Deal policies that really go against God's design for
Yes.
nature and how he created this world that we live in. Can you talk a little bit about your position there and the work you're doing in DC in that front?
Sure, I've been very outspoken about this. It's a sham. The whole climate change is a sham. First of all, God controls the climate.
You get it, right? So
I got
this
it.
is a,
Well,
this,
let's talk about the sham, because I think, Nate, we can put a number on that sham. Okay. Let's look at what the federal government is laying out in excess of the premiums they're charging for flood insurance. Let's look at what the government is paying out to restore these communities that have been ravaged by fire. Let's look what the government is shelling out in special aid, where I believe the federal government will pick up 90% of whatever the damage is to clear from tornadoes, from hurricanes, from you name it. And what's going to happen when the insurance companies say, by the way, we insure against unforeseen losses, but if you're going to live here, we know these losses are going to be regular. They're not unforeseen.
is you can
We're going
see
to pull
it.
insurance.
You can see it in the insurance rates. You can see it in so many other ways. You can measure it. This is what I always think about climate change when people get mad at me about talking about climate change. I'm like, there's a direct correlation between the amount of increased CO2 in the atmosphere and the increased temperature. This isn't some wild theory that you need physics to figure out. You can measure, as our CO2 output has gone up, the temperature has gone up. So, it's not magic. And
listen, can you explain that to people, to the 30% of Americans who read at a level that you'd expect from a 10-year-old child?
You're going to pay more for your monthly insurance, or you're going to have to move soon. And God didn't put that flood there. We put that flood there because we're not taking care of the planet. Do you know what else I want to say to this congresswoman? I want to say, she's basically arguing that God made everything and nothing could hurt you. Well, let me put you in a cage with a lion. Why don't you why don't you carry some uranium? Did God make that? It will hurt you. There's lots of things God made that can hurt you. I really don't know why these simpletons want to lead. If I was that stupid and had that primitive view of the world, I would just hide and just hope that God didn't zap me with his lightning bolts or his lasers.
Well, listen, David Brooks, had a little editorial in the Times, and, he just mentioned Trump himself personifies stupidity's essential feature, which is self-satisfaction and an inability to recognize the flaws in your thinking. And I think that's what's going on here. We all make mistakes. We all have flaws. I mean, for God's sakes, in medicine, anytime there's an unexpected death, something goes wrong, they're always debriefing. Navy SEALs, they go through brutal debriefings after every operation, because they don't want to get killed, and they need to know. Everyone needs to know what their job is. NFL, constantly debriefing after games. Everyone does, but not in this White House.
Tony, let's debrief, because the market is up today. And if we're talking in reality, they're going to say, hey, we're winning. Everything's going great.
Well, listen, I mean, for you to look at the daily movements of the stock market and say that that's a reflection of you is the essence of insanity. I mean, really,
Since he took control,
a ton.
it's incredible. I don't. It's historic, and this is the thing. If you're got a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a wife, and you're like,
or both, or all three,
or I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm out. Done.
Yeah.
This is basically what the United States has said to the global order. We're done. We're gonna tank the dollar because we want to make things here, and we want to become an exporting country. Which I don't know if that's a crypto related thing. I think it might be. Honestly, I'm.
This whole thing, Nate, with this trade deficit is just crazy.
But
I mean, listen, I'll take your BMW any day of the week in exchange for a piece of paper from me.
But yeah, I know. But let me get to the point. So if you're in a relationship with a boyfriend or you got a girlfriend and you're like, hey, you know what? I don't like you anymore. I'm gonna go somewhere else, which is what the United States is doing. That person you dumped is going to find a new partner. And a lot of guys, when this happens, I've seen this before. They're like, oh my God, my wife is dating someone. Of course she is. What do you think is going to happen? So right now, the rest of the world's looking around and say, who else can we date? And
but wait, it gets even better, Nate. It gets even better. I agree with you on that. But how about this? Whoops. What if you end up having to go back and ask them for a favor? Okay.
Yeah, it's.
How about would you fight in Afghanistan for me? Would you fight? Would you do something? Get behind us after 9/11? Would you go into Iraq for us? Would you help us get some rare earth materials? We are always going to need things in this world, Nate. You can't have too many friends.
Or maybe there's another pandemic, and hey, we need to work together on this. I just think what he's doing is so incredibly simple and short-sighted, and it's like they can't even work with. I mean, Joe Biden did not govern the way I would have governed. So I saw these people as nightmares, the nightmares they are. And we're going to talk about how bad it's getting for people in this country in a second. But, all he ever said is bipartisanship. He tried so desperately to get along with these guys.
And what's the opposite of bipartisanship? How about try this on for size? Everyone's coming here telling me that they're going to kiss my ass, right? I got 70 countries saying they want to negotiate something. Let me tell you something. The USMCA, right? And Canada changes around from the US. They put Canada first. Anyway, that was the NAFTA agreement. You know how long it took for that thing? And this thing was in place already. Just to have that tweaked a little bit, it took 18 months. 18 months. We have clients who have got international businesses, and they started to explain to me how complex some of these tariffs are for just a whole range of parts that they work with. And so you tell me, how in God's green earth are you going to negotiate 70 agreements in 90 days?
He acts like he's ordering furniture from one of his stupid hotels. Let me say this. Now I want to talk a little bit different right now. By the way, I do think there's some crypto component to all this. I think that they're trying to reset the global. They say they want the dollar to remain the global reserve currency, but if you really hear Peter Thiel and some of these other folks talk, they call themselves crypto absolutists. And I wonder what they want. Crypto becomes a currency that's unregulated, untaxable, untraceable. And if you're some one of these mega rich guys, that's what you want. I think that might be part of the game here.
Well, you know what it is? It's the sort of the atheism that we end up seeing, and atheists will say, well, there is no God. And, when Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, we have what's called a fiat currency, which means that the value of our dollar is contingent on belief in the government. And as they continue to undermine belief in our government, they're looking at belief in this ledger system, which is crypto. That's really where they're going. So it's just sowing doubt.
Maybe this is why they don't care about people's 401k crashing, because they're like, listen, we don't care about money. We're moving on to a new form of money that's controlled by billionaires, and that you have to trust us because we control this.
So what problem does crypto address? None. Thank you.
Money from taxation, and it creates an independent form of money unrelated to government. These guys are super libertarians. They hate government. They hate community. They believe that we should be serfs. If you look at these guys like Curtis Yarvis and the other people they listen to, they have a very extreme view of the world. I mean, Elon Musk and the gang, they really believe, even his grandfather believed this, by the way, there should be some sort of tech overlords and everybody else should serve them. And I really think that's part of the angle here. They were trying to undermine the global order, not just because they hate China. They're trying to undermine the global order because they hate the fact that anybody, even a government like the United States, can have control over them.
Well, again, when we have no referees, people become pigs, generally speaking, and they just go to excess. We saw that in the global financial crisis with the banking system and the mortgage system in 2008, 2009. There was a very, very light touch on regulation. Alan Greenspan said, my big regret, I never thought these people would blow themselves up, but that is human nature because they don't know when to stop because the profits were so great until they weren't. And who got hurt? An awful lot of average people. And I think part of the reason that we are here right now is the fact that during that time, many, many people lost their homes. They were lied to by the banks. They were allowed to lie on applications. And nobody from Wall Street who knew darn well what was going on went to jail. And this was part of the beginning of the resentment against, quote unquote, the system and wanting to blow it up because the system blew them up, didn't protect them, and really didn't offer any.
Tony, step away from all of this. I think step away from all the orthodox thinking and all of this stuff, okay? Think of yourself as an alien coming from planet Tony.
Zircon.
Yeah, Zircon, where you visit planet Earth and you're seeing what's happening. And the people behind Trump's victory are Elon and Thiel, right? Thiel's at a conference last weekend, throwing $100 bills at the audience and then mocking them for picking them up, saying they're worthless. You should move to crypto. I really think they don't. Greenspan was a traditionalist compared to these guys. These guys are talking about colonizing foreign planets, creating nations where they're independent from laws, and creating currencies that are unregulated. I think they want a totally different world order, and it's a world order that's very terrifying. It should be very terrifying to people that are paying attention. And listen, I'm gonna whatever. What is my own horn?
I don't know
what's
if you can.
What's the phrase?
Can
my
you?
own horn? My toot my own horn? Is that the thing?
I think it's blow your own horn.
Oh, okay. Blow my own horn here.
You could toot it if you want, I guess.
I can kind of see stuff, and if you go back and look at the stuff I've been saying over the years, this is what's coming. These guys are trying to break the whole thing.
Well, listen, you know what? Who put Trump in office, right? Was the American people. Now, why? Because we all know, Nate, you've been accused of being the MAGA Democrat, right? I mean, you just have been. So you have to own it proudly. When MAGA, elected Trump to a second term, what were they hoping he would do for them?
Honor or dignity and help restore some economic success or viability to their
lives. All right, but let's talk specifics. It was, why did they hate Biden? Look, right, the prices, right?
I don't know if it was ever about the prices, but yes, that's what they said.
It was because inflation. I'll tell you, any president, who's got rising inflation during their term, they get bounced. I mean, that's just history. All right. So that was a significant.
Then why do these same folks don't care about the rising prices right now? They just don't care.
Because they haven't risen yet. Because these things, I'm just saying these things haven't been. What I'll tell you is, in the event foreign goods go up in prices, American goods are going to go up almost as much.
I talked about being in the mechanic shop this morning or earlier today. They were also talking about getting their fish Friday night.
Yeah.
And they were like, we got to make a sacrifice this year. We got to do it ourselves because, Trump's trying to fix the economy. And I was like, oh my gosh, where was this type of, camaraderie or spirit of nationalism when Biden was president?
Well, don't forget, how did Ronald Reagan unseat Jimmy Carter? What was his one question? There you go. And the bottom line for these people, and they would say the same thing, and Trump pulled the same thing. He said, look, you had high inflation, you had all this other stuff, going on. You look at the Afghanistan, do you feel you're better off than you were 4 years ago? And people would say, no. He says, so elect me. Trust me, when people see the cost of living going up as much as it is, and if you've got 40 or 50% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, this stuff is really going to sting.
Listen,
And
I think that stuff matters. It all matters, but I think there's more to it than that. There's if you look at Fox News right now, they don't even want to talk about the economic issues. Every time they're
no, they
asked,
don't, because they're a disaster.
I just saw James Carville on there, and he was talking to Hannity, and every time he had made a point, because Hannity's dumb too, in the words of Elon, dumb as a bag of bricks. He said that about Peter Navarro. But anyway, but he's not a smart guy. Hannity is not smart. And Carville just kept owning him, and Hannity would just go back to the transgender thing, and it's just like, that's all you have is to talk about that's the pressing issue facing America is transgender. But anyway, go ahead.
If they ignore it, by the way, they do so at their peril, because the American people are not dumb. I mean, we just got stats out today. Consumer confidence, is the lowest since 1981. The head of the New York Fed believes that inflation is going to go to 4%. All right, this year, the economy is going to slow, and there's just so much uncertainty out there. People are paralyzed. You're also damaging the brand of the United States, where a lot of tourism comes here, and people are pulling back from that. A lot of our products they were proud to have because it was from the USA. Now they're saying, well, I don't know that I really want to be associated with you people. There's tremendous brand damage that's going on. And again, the corporations, there's no way anyone is going to invest any money here when the rules end up changing by the day and sometimes by the hour.
I think, again, like I said, I think you're right, but you're dealing with ultra rich men. I mean, Peter Thiel's company is called Palantir for a reason. Palantir is from Lord of the Rings. It's the crystal ball that the evil sorcerers would use to spy on the rest of the world. He is a freak. Who would name their company that? And he has said publicly that his goal, he thinks that the long-term bet is a collapse or transformation of the global financial system. And that it's brittle, and it's not sustainable, and that Bitcoin and alternative currencies that are monitored by these emperor kings like himself is the way to go. He's an ultra-libertarian. Go ahead.
I understand he can say what he wants, but I'm sort of a practical guy. And 60% of the people between age 55 and 65 have retirement accounts. And those retirement accounts are invested in stocks and bonds. And if they continue to crater, just before these people are ready to retire, there is going to be hell to pay. I mean, there just is. You cannot walk away from that.
If you believe in democracy. And they
don't.
No,
I'm just saying,
these guys don't. They don't believe it. Listen to this. Disrupting the dollar isn't just ideological. It's a business strategy. If you're early in crypto or blockchain and the fiat crumbles, your stake becomes vastly more valuable. Undermining the dollar is a pathway to financial and ideological supremacy. You don't think this is part of their thinking right now?
Well, they can think what they want. The bottom line is nobody screams louder than the markets. I mean, they just don't, because everyone is in the markets. Every pension fund, every endowment fund in this country, everyone who's a municipal worker, they're in this stuff because that's what's backing
I
their
hope
pensions.
You're right, but I think they don't care. I think these are nihilists or anarchists that are trying to reset the global order. I really do.
I agree they are. What I'm saying is we've got market levers that I think would override their zealousness to try and change the world
the market is based on the dollar or supreme fiat currency. What if you don't believe in that? What if you
Okay, here's what happens. If you don't believe in that, if we lose our status as a reserve currency, interest rates will probably go up 0.5%, 0.75%, which is going to cause a tremendous amount of pain for a lot of people. We also are in a position where we are carrying a tremendous amount of debt. I mean, we're spending more on our interest payments on the debt than we are on the military. And typically for a society, anytime they run into that type of calculus, the results are not good. And the Republicans now want to add $6, $7, $8, $9 trillion, depending on how you score it, to the budget deficit. So, again, there is no discipline. The
Just do the
only
thought. Just do the
discipline
thought
out there is
experiment.
going
with me.
to
Just
come
do
from the
just do the
markets.
thought. I know you don't want to do this, but do the thought experiment with me. Let's say I'm right about
right.
Peter Thiel and the gang. They want to crash the whole system. They don't want there to be fiat currency, which is what they've said, by the way. These are the people that control our government. This is what they've said. They say, they're going to be able to survive on, they've invested in longevity science. They've invested in surveillance and defense with Palantir. They've invested in decentralized currency and remote infrastructure through various different holdings. They have geographic holdings around the world, physical holdings. They have science and technology that we can't even... I don't think they care about anything. I think they have built... We have empowered these idiots to create a system where they can put it all at jeopardy. And I don't hear anyone in the news talking about this, but you know who I hear talking about this? These guys. They're openly talking about this. I think everybody should be sweating bullets because you're dealing with a madman in Trump who doesn't know what he wants. And behind him are some very powerful people who are just as comfortable talking to some elites who are Bitcoin elites in Beijing as they are in Tonawanda. They'll talk to anybody about this stuff. They believe
Tonawanda.
in
Wait a minute. Whoa. North Tonawanda? Town of Tonawanda, city of Tonawanda. Which Tonawanda is it?
NT is the best. Listen, let's move on. Next thing.
Wait, what? This one last
Go
thing. Most powerful guy, right, in the world, right, should be Musk, right? He says, well, I think we can get $2 trillion in cuts in the budget. Then at a minimum, we should get $1 trillion in cuts in the budget. His latest number, by the way, which hasn't been validated by anyone on his wall, $150 billion. His Cybertruck, he said, which is, the sales are just cratering. He said, we ought to, when this thing gets ramped up, we ought to be able, and they've all been with recalled. He says, when it gets ramped up, we should have 250,000 trucks that we're selling a year, right? So first quarter this year, what did he sell? About 6,500. So what that means is the sales on an annualized basis for the Cybertruck now are about 1/10 of what he said we should be selling, those trucks at 250.
He's a joke, but he's almost too big to fail when he's got that much money. And if you think they all have the same favorite book. It's written by a Russian immigrant. It's called Atlas Shrugged. And the plot of Atlas Shrugged is everything collapses. Everything collapses, and these geniuses create a new society where they control everything, and that we need them. And that because all of us dummies who are trying to live off the old system eventually beg them for forgiveness and want to be part of their new utopia. Do you know where the word utopia comes from? It's Greek. It means a place that does not exist. And they're trying to create some sort of tech utopia, and they believe they're all John Galt, the key character in Atlas Shrugged, and we are headed towards some really nightmarish times. That's what I think. Unless our only hope is somehow the Democrats can pull it together and fight against them. Listen, I said to you earlier, I don't trust the Democrats at all. Not that I'm the end-all, be-all of the world, but I've got quite a following in Western New York. They won't even run me for dog catcher because they're so intent on controlling their little monopoly. They don't want to have debate. And a group that doesn't want debate and fears change this much, how are you going to fight these bastards? I don't know if they can. So,
well, don't forget, you're like some mad dog that somebody's trying to train, and you just resist being trained. The Democrats, they want you to be part of.
When you say the Democrats, that implies some sort of
Erie County Democratic Party.
So okay, who are you? So you're using a title for a group. It's like the editorial board, but if behind that title is a person. So what person are you referring to that I should be trained by?
Well, what I'm saying is, if you want to be led into their tribe, shall we say, I know
I
you
want to
don't.
change their tribe, and I think they're messed up. And
I know you
go
do,
ahead.
but unfortunately, the way our system is geared right now, there are just two tribes, essentially two political organizations that have the muscle to fundraise, to get people out knocking on doors.
They don't understand though. They need guys like me more than I need them. And if they don't pull in people like me and the other like free thinkers in the world, they're going to continue to get mashed up until they disappear. That's what I'm trying to say to you in this podcast. I didn't know we go down these dark roads, but I think the whole thing's in jeopardy. I'm not just talking about. I look at what's happening in the last 2 months. This is now I got to change the subject because I don't want to be. I know you got stuff to do. What about these kids being? Did you see today the federal agents are showing up at the schools trying to get access to children? Have you seen these videos of these like very matronly looking women being ripped out of cars and the windows broken in front of their kids by federal agents? Oh, Tony, you died. You disappeared. What happened? Well, I'll just keep talking about it until you come back. Oh, there you are. What happened, Tony?
No, I'm telling you know what it is. They're trying to create fear because power, to his way of thinking, is fear. If you are feared, you are powerful, and it's all about power with him. But I'm telling you, Nate, this 1977 law by which they claim that the president can declare an emergency and therefore can set tariffs around the world. I believe is going to be thrown out by the courts, and there are groups that are suing on that right now. Fentanyl is not an emergency. This has been going on for years. And for him to claim that's the case and then claim that he's got the power of the purse to be able to set tariffs all around the world based on his whim is just crazy. It's unconstitutional, and I think it's going to be bounced. Furthermore, as a negotiator, right, the art of the dope, he raised China's tariff level to 145%, which means if you were like a Buffalo firm and you do $1 million worth of business with China, you bring in whatever they are, lawn chairs or whatever it is you're selling, Christmas trees, toys, whatever it is, you import $1 million worth, you're going to have to come up with almost $2.5 million to sell the same kind of stuff. So China said, look, you dope, we're going up to 125%, and I don't care how much more you raise it, because we're effectively shut down from buying any stuff from the United States.
Yeah, now, it's crazy. And what China, for those who are unfamiliar with China, good luck fighting these guys. Good luck. I mean, this is a country that can, snap their fingers. And then do you think our lockdown was severe? People didn't leave their houses for like a year in China. This is a country that puts millions of people into concentration camps.
Yeah.
You think we can deal with the type of pain that society can deal with? You think they're going to break? Listen, if they don't have enough cheese sticks at Wegmans, people lose their mind. You think you're going to be able to endure what's going on in China? Come on. And listen, and I'm not talking some local yokel. I lived in China. I graduated from the same university as Xi Jinping. I know China. And China is a very resilient, strong society with a very controlling and domineering government. You're not going to be able to outdo them. This isn't Trump looking down a table in Manhattan over a steak and looking at a real estate developer and saying, I'm going to own you. This is not art of the deal stuff. This is not persuasion or leverage. You're dealing with a society that can withstand large amounts of pain, and I'm not sure our society can.
I don't think our society can. I'm almost sure of it that our society can. I don't think, if the Nazis came back, whatever the case would be, and we went back to the 1930s and 1940s, where you had that can-do spirit where America pulled together to go abroad to fight a foreign enemy, because that's what we were about. There's no way you could develop that consensus today. You remember when President Kennedy said in his inaugural address from 1960, we will bear any burden defending freedom throughout the world. When he said, ask not, what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. How many people today do you think that message would resonate with? And
Not
so,
many. It's not our
not
president who calls people who serve in the military suckers and losers.
that's it. So, again, I think we just have to. Now, Carville, I don't know if he said anything about his strategy, which is don't say anything, don't do anything, and let Trump sort of fall on his face with his policies. I do think they need to be actively challenged when it makes sense to challenge them. You can't challenge everything because they're shooting the fire hose of falsehoods, all the time. But I think they do have to challenge some of them. And I don't necessarily hear, other than Bernie Sanders, I don't really hear a whole heck of a lot of people out there that are just
They're
the torch.
again. You want me to be trained by these people? They don't have a backbone to do anything, Tony. And if Carville had one good hit, one banger. It's the economy.
Which was?
It's the economy, stupid. Since then, he's been pretty, absent and wrong. He told us that Trump's going to. I mean, I go through the list of things he said wrong. Do I think he's a smart guy? Yeah. He's 85 years old. If I'm supposed to look at some weird guy in Louisiana for the future of America, I don't think that's the way. We should be fighting them on everything. Yeah, you heard me right. Everything.
Yeah, I got it. Like Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local. And I just want to drill down a little bit further than that. All economics is personal. And if a lot of people are experiencing pain, if you're going to have Medicaid pulled away from hospitals, I mean, it's going to affect hospitals in our community because we get, a fair amount of Medicaid, nursing homes, people who, had access to healthcare who no longer will. If they pull this off with their budget deal and have significant cuts to Medicaid, I think that could be it for them. Because people just are not going to stand for that.
I hope that you're right, and you have more faith in the system than I do. I hope I'm wrong. I think that this guy's going to declare martial law if push comes to shove.
Oh my goodness!
The Washington Post listen. Let me ask you this: if it happens in other countries, why wouldn't it happen here? The Washington Post. CMS. The Washington Post. Oops. The Washington Post said that they said we should be this is what to do if this is how you prepare for martial law. They put an article out last week. It just happened in South Korea. People thought it couldn't happen there. The guy's a Trump acolyte. I think you should think about what's happening next. You think they really care about rural Americans and the fact they don't have access to hospitals? If they cared, everything would be different. Their whole approach to government would be different. I don't think any of this stuff matters to these guys.
Well, like I said, let's get personal. We know that tariffs, a lot of people are on heparin, right? It's a blood thinner. If you've had stents, if you've had any kind of circulatory things, you're taking heparin. It's cheap, right? And essential for, just millions of people who are hospitalized. If the tariffs disrupt the supply chain, people are going to go ballistic. Generic drugs, 90% of the drugs of the scripts that are written in this country are for generics, and they only represent about 13% or so of money that's spent on all drugs. They get their base materials from China. They're then shipped over to India, where they then, package them based on the dosage or whatever you're looking for in terms of additives. If you just slap these things on, you are never going to get those companies to come here and manufacture generics because the margins are so thin. So
all these things are true. I think he's ruining the global economy. I think he doesn't care. I think there's little to no chance getting him out of office while he's alive. And I think the Democrats don't have the Democrats are playing by rules of 35 years ago, including Carville and many of the others. I don't think people realize the threat we're faced. I hope I'm wrong. I think it's, I wasn't wrong about Trump. I wasn't wrong about who he is, 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was talking about it. People thought I was crazy back then.
Nate, I keep talking about the arrogance of ignorance. Okay. The arrogance of ignorance. RFK Jr. says, we're going to know what causes autism by September. I mean, Why don't we just say, by the way, the sun rotates around the earth instead of the other way around? I mean, these things are just patently ridiculous. And like I said, if people can't get their drugs, they're pharmaceutical grade drugs. If they can't afford to buy the staples in their life, if they're getting rejected for mortgage refis or for mortgages, credit cards, the whole credit system, they're going to say, I'm living in a world of pain.
Yeah.
It wasn't so bad before. What is all this for?
Optimist, sir. I saw. I lived through 1 million Americans dying, and people have come away from that experience saying the lefties were too crazy about masks. So I don't have a lot of faith in people's, even when when they're directly affected, to do the right thing. I think that storylines and imaginary, fictitious fiends and that these politicians conjure up are more important to them than reality. And I hope it changes, but that's what I feel. I mean, listen, do you know that we as Americans experience more communal death in our communities than any group of people in since World War One? We're traumatized by it, and the takeaway again is that the left was crazy. Elon Musk said 30,000 people would get COVID, and then it would disappear. So, do I think that if people start dying because they can't get medicines in America, there's going to be some big backlash against Trump? Maybe, but I think there's more likely that people will blame somebody else. Trump will be able to, triangulate like he always does, and then if things get really bad for him, he'll just declare martial law. Did you see he's having a birthday parade for the military, like he's Kim Jong-un?
Yes. He's wanted one before, and they told him, look, the tanks are going to wreck the streets. So, I mean, that's his.
Hey, Tony, I'll cheer everybody up with a nice bit of music, and we'll call it. Okay, ready?
All righty.
Some freaky stuff. All right, I'll see you later.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.